What's up, everyone? Jason Brown here, the king of programming. We are doing another programming review today, and one that is special to me because this coach had a big influence on me coming up as a young coach, and the program is Full Body Physique by Ferrugia. So let's get right into it. So first and foremost, I reached out to Jay and I asked him if I could do a review of this program, and I bought the program. So I own this program. I paid for it, and this is my program. And I actually asked him, hey man, bought your program. Do you mind if I do a review on it? So I did get approval from him. And one of the things that I had a question on was like, is there any legal implications of showing people's programs? Well, first and foremost, I am using a 14-day trial or a 7-day trial. I've seen a lot of people with a 14-day trial. I'm using a trial just like anyone else could. Now, of course, if I buy someone's PDF, anything like that, of course, I want to get permission from them to do that. People share programs left and right. It's just one of those things we deal with as online coaches. People steal this stuff, and it's just kind of a shitty thing, but it is what it is. So I wanted to show you guys Jay's program for a few reasons. One, Jay is a coach with a ton of experience. If you look him up, he's got a ton of experience training high-level people, training movie stars, professional athletes, you name it. I tend to see a lot of things with people that have high levels of experience. What is high level? Like over 20 years. I tend to see a lot of the same commonalities, and I think it's very interesting that coaches that have been doing this a very long time look at things completely different. Now, I've been doing this stuff almost 2 decades, and I will tell you that my lens has changed quite a bit over the years. So I can't imagine 10 years from now, what will I be thinking? I'm sure the fundamentals have remained intact. That's one thing I've seen, but the way I look at things like training splits and volume, intensity, those things are certainly changing with time and age. As we age, we just see that things are so different with our own bodies. And that is a great way to give other people like ourselves guidance. So I've seen a lot of the same commonalities. People like Joe DeFranco, Jay Ferrugia. I was having a conversation with Jailhouse Strong recently, the guy that owns Jailhouse Strong. So look him up, got a great page. And again, very much seasoned, high-level coach that's been around a long time, and they tend to do things a little different. And one of the things I've noticed is that there is a massive emphasis on quality over quantity. And I learned from a lot of these guys myself. I read all of Jay's content coming up. I read his book. I did a lot of his programs. I have a ton of respect for him. So when I grabbed this program and I saw what it consisted of, kind of wasn't surprised. Now, full body, for those of you that don't know, consists of essentially doing an upper body push, an upper body pull, and a lower body movement. Lower body could be squat, single leg, or hinge. Now, I like to do full body encompassing a hinge, a squat, or a single leg, a push, and an upper pull. Those are the 4 things I typically use, but technically speaking, we just need a lower body and then an upper push and pull. So that this program has that. And one of the things I always start these videos off by saying is that what I'm looking at is the fundamentals, sets, reps, and rest and rules, exercise order, exercise selection. How are things structured within a week? We've seen some programs that are just like all over the place. There's no rhyme or reason. It's just like they just put exercises in. And when you don't have a background, you don't know the fundamentals, that stuff happens. But when you know the fundamentals and have a command of them, you use a logical template, if you will. We are plugging things into each day, and there is a rhyme to the reason. It's not just random stuff thrown into a program. I can't stand that. Think random workouts, if you will. They're just that. They're workouts. They're not training. A training program is a cohesive, well-designed plan that has an intent to every single day. And then when you get down more granular, like the exercise selection, of course, sets, reps, and rest rules, those are things that certainly can really put the cherry on top of the sundae. Now, you go a step further with things like conditioning, then it's game over. Then now we can really do everything we need to do. We can maximize recovery, we can maximize someone's longevity training with us if we have those things. So without further ado, let's get right into it. So this program is a full body program. It consists of essentially 3 days of training and then an optional day, which I really like. So that's like, okay, I've got 4 days a week to train. Boom, I can do that with this program. Now, he's got day 1 consisting of some pressing, some horizontal rowing, a hinge, a single leg, and then some direct biceps work. I love it. We got all the foundational movement patterns. He's not using supersets. He's got longer rest intervals. I would say that for my personal preference, I would do this a little bit different, but the way he's doing it is not wrong. It is definitely a lot of validity to the way he's doing things. He's not supersetting things. He's using longer rest intervals. We know that there's a lot of supported research to back that up these days, that when you allow for the nervous system to recover, you can get a little bit more bang for the buck, as well as, obviously tap into some heavier loads and bring those sets closer to failure. So I definitely like what he's doing here. You'll notice too, the volume is relatively low. So I know Jay is the type of guy where he's quality over quantity. So he's someone that thinks that, you can spend 3 or 4 sets ramping up and then you hit it hard with 2 sets, with 3 sets, which is what you see here. So I think someone with little experience would say, oh, it's not enough, but people like Jay, people like myself know that if you do this right, you can get a huge bang for the buck from this. So that's day 1. I don't have any issues with it. I would potentially use a little bit more pairing, so supersetting things, just to keep it a little bit more fun. I like to do full body a few different ways. One of the ways I like to do it is with like a main lift, and then we use some pairings, or potentially even using circuits at different times of the year, because that's a great way to improve things like general physical preparedness. But the way he's doing it is definitely a great way to do it. People will get great results from that. So again, check off this first day is it hits all the boxes. It's a full body day. He's got some direct arm work, the volume, sets, reps, and rest intervals all on point. Again, no issues with this. Okay, so let's look at day 2, and this is Wednesday. He gives you that information like, hey, I want you to rest 48 hours before you do your next day. And we got a little bit higher schemes. And I know with Jay in this program is that there's distinct phases of different schemes he's using in terms of how high in reps he's going versus how low. So there's definitely some legitimacy to that here. But again, we're checking the boxes. We got a row, we got a push, we got a hip hinge, we got a squat, and then we got some more direct arm work. And this day I like that he's actually doing some triceps work. And then on day 1, he did some direct biceps work. So again, checking the box. Quality over quantity type day. Again, very low sets, 3 sets, 2 sets, 2 sets, 1 set, 2 set. So what that means is if you're doing 2 sets, you better be warming up properly, and you better be putting in that effort and being true to yourself with how many reps in reserve you have. Again, rest intervals, he goes on the higher side, which is okay. My feedback would be really the same. I would potentially use some more pairings here and there. It wouldn't be for every exercise, but you could certainly do that and definitely have a little bit more training density. And of course, it's a little bit more fun. People get a little bit better pump. Full body is not the style of training that you're going to get a massive pump from, but when you do it right, it really does. You really do leave that session feeling like you accomplished a lot. All right. So day 3, this is, again, we're checking all the boxes. So I kind of know that full body is he's going to check all the boxes. He's got a pull down. And I like that he's doing different types of rowing activities. It's not just vertical, not just horizontal. He's got horizontal, he's got vertical. He's got different positions. He's using novel angles. I love it. And then again, we're checking all the boxes because now we've got single leg, we've got a hinge, we've got a push, we've got an upper pull, and different than the other 2 days, and then ending with some direct delt work. Again, I love it. And then day 4, we've got some conditioning day, some optional conditioning day where we're doing some bike sprints and a loaded carry, as well as some direct abdominal work. So overall, I think this is a very, very solid program. It's exactly what I would expect from someone like Jay. My criticisms are when you do just straight sets, it does tend to be a little bit more vanilla, and the argument will be made, well, can you get more from it if you do it that way? And the question is maybe, but I'm more concerned with long-term compliance. This is a 6-week program, so if you want to make great gains in 6 weeks, this is definitely a good way to do it. But I would use some other strategies over time, and of course, we're not assessing that, we're assessing just the fundamentals of the program. So for those of you that are maybe interested in more full body programming, there's a lot of different ways to skin the cat, as there is with every style of programming, but those are some strategies that I would potentially use in this program. And then if we're doing that, we don't have to rest 2 minutes between every set. We could certainly go 60 seconds between pairings, something like that, all right? The only other criticism I have is that I would like to see some straight aerobic work. And I do think that he mentioned it in the notes that you can do some steady state zone 2 style work cyclically on off days if you have time. So that's something I would potentially include and make sure that that's very clear that people have the option to do that. But I will tell you personally, a mistake I make as a coach is that I give people too much. When you give people too much, sometimes it actually acts as a detriment. Sometimes they're like, oh, I don't know what days to do. A program like this, you're very clear on what days to do, which I like that. And that's something, as I get older as a coach, I see that, hey, Jason, you don't need to give someone 7 days. Give them what they need. And if they only can do 3 days, then give them 2 strength sessions and an aerobic session, something like that. So I do like what he's got here. As far as the bike sprints go and just kind of critiquing this conditioning session, he's got 10 sets of 10 to 12 seconds with 60 to 90 seconds rest. So certainly can be more anaerobic. It really depends on how hard you're pushing it. 10 to 12 seconds is almost capacity of the phosphagen system. 60 to 90 seconds, you could probably go a little bit higher if you wanted to be pure power or even pushing more towards capacity of the phosphagen system. But overall, I think that based on what he's done in the week, I'm guessing that he doesn't want you to have full recovery between sets of that because, we've come off a pretty hard week of training. So I think that, the way that this is structured is perfectly fine. And then obviously I love loaded carries. I think there's never really a place in time where we don't need those. And he's got this done as a giant set, which I like. So either way, this is a very solid program with someone like Jay or Joe DeFranco or Christian Thibodeau or any of the coaches that I followed throughout my career. These are guys I've learned from. These are guys that have taught me a lot, and that, these are guys that have made me want to pay it forward to people like you that are consuming this content. So I really appreciate coaches like him have done for people like me, because one of the greatest things that we get as coaches, when we do other people's programs and we can see the rhyme and the reason and we can understand, and maybe you can ask questions, maybe you're working with someone one-on-one, you can ask questions about why they're having you do specific things. That enhances the learning, and that is why I teach coaches now, instead of just giving them materials, we do hands-on. In our certification, we do hands-on, teaching you how to program, looking at your programs, giving you feedback, having you redo your program potentially, and come back to the drawing board. But that is a really special thing, that when coaches get to a level where they have to really look in the mirror and be honest with what they're putting out, that's when you guys go to that next level. And I would encourage all of you that are coaches to start thinking about doing those things. So that's it for today. This is an approved program, and we'll see you on the next review.
Best program available on the internet today.
I think it's very difficult to find a trainer like Jason.
Since joining Everyday Heroes, I feel like I've stopped working out and actually started training.